So guitar beats, guitar melodies, how to make guitar melodies, how to make realistic guitar melodies if you don't play guitar. How do you do all that stuff? You've come to the right place. We're gonna talk about that today. Whether you play guitar or you just want to use a guitar emulator in like a VST or something, to know how to write guitar melodies that sound accurate, like they're actually being played on a guitar if you're not playing guitar, is a really crucial skill to have. And then also just talking about, if you just started playing guitar and you don't know your way around the fretboard, I'm going to talk about some of those things today. So I came up with like a chord progression and I'm going to show that somewhere on the screen on a piano roll. So if you don't play guitar, this video can still be helpful for you. Okay, so a couple things to note about what I just played. So I played an E minor to a G to a C to a D. And the voicing that I had was spread out in such a way to have the root, the fifth, and then the third on top. I've talked about this with hi-hats. If you want to make something sound really human and more realistic, just change So if I'm really paying attention to what I just played there, the E and the G, those were the loudest notes. So you want to make those pretty high in terms of velocity. And then I know that the B was pretty quiet, so you want to make the B lower. How I would probably interpret this chord progression is to say that this is in the key of G major. So the chords in G major go as such. Since the chord progression goes from E minor to G and then C to D, I would interpret that as being a 6-1-4-5 chord progression, which that's a really common chord progression. So if you're trying to write chord progressions and you're stuck and you don't know what to do, using any one of those chords in any particular order is instantly gonna have a kind of pop sound to it. So guitar melodies, obviously the chords are really important. How you write out those chords, the inversions that you use for those chords, all of those things are really important. But another part of guitar melodies is the top line or the counter melody. And something that gets used a lot in guitar is the pentatonic scale. And that's what I'm gonna use today to write a top line. So the cool thing about the pentatonic scale is most scales are 7 notes. The pentatonic scale is only 5 notes. So it'll work over more progressions because they're just less notes. So G major pentatonic is what I'm gonna be using to solo over the chords I just showed you. Basically, the notes in the G major pentatonic scale go like this. So you have G, A, B, D, E, G. So the notes that are missing from there are the C and the F sharp. The shape of the pentatonic scale is really easy to memorize because it's just so symmetrical. And you can memorize it, all the way up and down the neck. But I'm not gonna talk about this today, and this isn't really like, guitar lesson 101. Okay, so now that we've talked about all that, I'm gonna work on a top line over those chords. So right now I'm gonna add in a hi-hat, and I'm gonna use a hi-hat MIDI pattern from the hi-hat MIDI pack I just dropped. If you haven't downloaded that already, it's free on my website. There's a link in the description, and this is gonna be like the last time that it's available for free, so get that while you can. Anyways, so I'm basically just gonna go in here and pick a hi-hat MIDI that works with this beat. So originally I was just gonna use this one hi-hat pattern and just be set with that, but I wanna change things up and try something that I've seen other people do,
which is
you have one hi-hat that's just doing like a two-step, and then you have another that's doing the rolls. In this case, this pattern has some underneath notes. So I'm gonna have that be one hi-hat, and then I'm gonna have a two-step, and then I'm gonna do the rolls. So it's gonna be pretty dynamic, and I think it might add a little bit of extra color to the beat. So yeah, that's got kind of a cool sound to it. It's got a pretty dynamic feel, and it's not really something I do too often, and I think it kind of worked for this beat. Okay, so we're back after a couple hours. I didn't really like where the beat was at the time that I was making it, and I made some changes, and I think it sounds really good now. So one of the changes that I made was the sound selection for the 3 separate hi-hats that were doing those parts from that one MIDI pattern that I made. I just didn't like the way it was sounding at first, so I switched it back to the original, just having it as one hi-hat. So here's the original hi-hat pattern just by itself, just one hi-hat playing that pattern. And now here are those 3 hi-hats all working together. I think in the context of the beat, that just works a little bit better. And then another thing that I did to give the drums a little bit more bounce, I didn't like the way the percussion was adding to the bounce or the groove of the beat. It just, something seemed missing. I added this snare, this percussion sound, which is kind of like a rim. And then this. And now the drums all together. So yeah, just made a couple minor tweaks, but I think it really made the beat a little bit better. So yeah, I think that's gonna do it for the beat. I just have to arrange this for a little bit. Until next time, I'll see you guys in the next video.